What's up, YouTube? It's your #1 boys, tied for first place, coming at you from I-85 on our way back home from an awesome tournament down in Raleigh, North Carolina. The tournament was called
Durham's Bane.
Durham's Bane.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot that.
I've got the memory of this
Durham's
group.
Bane. Yes, it was awesome. It was an 80-point tournament for the SMEGL, which is the Southeast MESBG Game League. I forget what it stands for. So far, off to a great start.
Yeah, we're nailing it.
All right, it was a 700-point, 5-round tournament over 2 days, held at Atomic Empire, probably my favorite game store of all time, to be totally frank. Can I be frank?
Yeah, what do you want me to be?
You can be whoever you want.
Okay. I'll be Smeagol.
And it was fantastic. So this was hosted by Dale. Shout out to Dale. As you all have heard, I love making sure that people who run tournaments get all the recognition because it is
last thing
thankless.
I want
Yeah, Andrew doesn't care. Andrew
to
actually
know.
actively doesn't like people who run tournaments.
Edit that out.
Sorry,
edit out.
Dale.
Jamie, edit that out.
Our brand new tripod is falling. That worked. People
No
like
problem.
that. Yeah, they're a little behind
You
the
can cut
scenes.
that out.
Yep. All right. So why don't we roll right into this? Oh, one more interesting mechanic. So this is again a 5-round tournament, and it was using the secret veto system. Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Keep it. Oh, yeah, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. You know that movie? You ever seen Star Wars?
No, is it?
And so the secret veto system is each player writes down which mission they don't want to play. So they write, well, okay.
They write down
we
a
won't talk
mission.
about that. They write down a mission to veto.
Yep.
And then you compare. If you chose different missions, you play the one that's remaining. But if you both chose the same mission, you instead play that mission. So there is, right off the bat, some gamesmanship going on here. A little bit of game theory as you're trying to figure out what your opponent might do, what you might do. I went into it with a strategy. Did you have a strategy? Did you follow your strategy?
Your strategy, essentially.
Yeah, we'll talk about how that worked. But I will tell you right now, just sharing all the notes here. My strategy was always veto the one that was best for me, because my theory was either my opponent vetoes that too, hoping we don't get it because it's the best scenario for me, or they'll probably veto something. I guess worst case, they're probably not often going to veto the one they want to play. They might veto like a middle ground one. I don't know. My theory was I don't really want to overthink it. But I love the idea that if they veto what's best for me, and I also veto what's best for me, my worst case is rarely going to be the worst mission for me.
Yeah.
I will tell you, in 4 of my 5 games, I played the exact mission I wanted to play. And in the other one, it was not a huge deal. So that was pretty fun. That worked out for me. Now that I've said this, we're going to have to change that up, though, because if everyone does this,
Right.
if everyone vetoes the one that's best for them...
Or not completely. It falls apart a little bit. You play your second favorite if everybody else does.
You play your second favorite, which again is not that bad.
Yeah.
So, okay. Anything else you want to say before we go into our lists?
Not really.
All right, why don't you start? What were you running today?
I was running the Last Alliance with Gil-galad, or Gil-galad, or Gil-galad.
How is it pronounced? Some Tolkien scholar out there, is it Gil-galad or
Galad and
Gil-galad?
Galadriel is Galad, so maybe it's Gil-galad.
Gil-galad? Could
I
be.
don't know.
I wonder, I don't know.
I would be glad to know what it is, though. So if you know, hit us up in the comments down below.
Yeah,
Or whichever, below, to the
Below,
side,
above,
whatever.
email.
Yep, email. Gil-galad, Numenor captain.
GG. Gilly G.
Yeah.
Just call him that from now on.
Yeah.
Then we can't be wrong.
Or Gil. Numenor captain and Círdan. I had 3 Kingsguard with spears. Yeah. Gil, he's not the best choice. I knew that going in. I knew magic would be bad news, and spoiler, magic was kind of bad news, but not horrible, but kind of horrible.
There were 4 Gandalf the Whites at the
There were
tournament.
4 Gandalf
Just
the Whites,
spoiler alert.
and you'll hear about game 1. So pretty simple list otherwise. I had 7 elf bows and 4 Numenor bows. We'll probably have it on the screen, so just read it.
No,
leave me alone.
I'm not going to do any
Leave me
editing
alone.
for this.
Stop asking me questions.
I'm releasing this as is, no edits.
Okay, fine.
All right?
What did you have?
Because I stole it from Andrew. This is Andrew's favorite list, but I really wanted to turn with it. So I stole it from our collection. I ran Mordor Serpent Horde. I don't know if you've heard of that combo before, but it works pretty well. So Suladan, my leader. That's what makes the Witch King on Fell Beast so good. We'll talk about that later. I had Suladan, obviously on horse, with his big old banner. I then took the Witch King on Fell Beast. I gave him 17 will. It was a lot. 3 Fate, 3 Might. And then I had a budget Ring Wraith as my other leader. I gave him 10 will, only 1 Fate, and 2 Might. And then I had like such a smattering of warriors. I had a couple Black Numenorians, I had a couple Morannons with spears, and so 8 Black Numenorians, 8 Morannons with shield and spear. I had 4 Orc Trackers. I had 5 or 6, I forget now, Orcs with sword and board. Obviously replaced their swords with axes. And I also had two trackers with the other guy. And then for Suladon, I had 4 Haradrim warriors with bow and 3 Haradrim warriors with spear and 2 Serpent Riders. So like so many types of different warriors.
Yeah.
But I was right at 700 points and 40 models. So pretty good. So yeah, without further ado...
That's enough ado, honestly.
That's already too much ado. Should you pause this and see if you can tighten the back? I think the back of that, it's like steadily falling. That looks good. Yeah. Okay, why don't we talk about our game? Sorry about the sun. We're getting hit with the western sun that is kind of blinding, but you just pretend it's blinding light, and we'll go from there. So, all right, Andrew. First game.
All right, first game. So, didn't want to face magic. That was the only thing I was afraid of. I said so on the way. And
you did. Can confirm.
Yep. And my first game was against the Black Riders.
Uh-huh. Well, there's a little bit of magic in that list.
So we played Divide and Conquer. And I was doing pretty well I was the first one to get on the central objective. I, had my whole, a pretty good chunk of my force on the central objective, or even in front of it by 3 or so inches. Had the left objective held pretty well, had 1 archer on my back objective. Feeling pretty good. My Numenorians were in the other corner because you have to split up your war bands. So he kind of focused on them, which to me, it was like, oh, good. Now I can just kind of cover these objectives. But in the end, he eventually just kind of whittled me down. And still fears were horrible.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's -3 courage, right? So elves from 5 down to 2.
If he had all,
7
or
something
8
like
or something
that?
Yeah. I
It's
think
4 and 6, right?
Yeah.
4 and 6.
Yeah. So
Ugh.
I was often at -3 courage. So my Numenorians
Gosh.
just couldn't charge his Black Riders and tie them up. So eventually, he came through and still feared. And whatever remained, he kind of cleaned up pretty well with the riders themselves in combat. And by the end of the game, I had nobody on the central objective. But the last turn, I did wrap one of my elves around to one of his riders, and because I knew if I lost, I could back away to within 3 inches of the objective.
Right.
So I saved myself losing a couple points there, because he would have gotten a lot more if he had gotten, if I had
I think
nobody.
it's 2 more, yeah. Or for the center one would be 2 more.
Yeah. So I saved myself a little bit, but yeah, he had the central objective, his back objective, and I think the objective on my right, because I had Gil-galad ready to go around to my right objective, but he got it, and I had saved my will on him too. But he did, he had one of those free transfix
the free
things
transfixes.
on a 6-up, and my will just couldn't. I couldn't manage. So yeah,
It's wild.
I had the left and back objective. He had the center, his objective, and his left objective.
Did you kill any of them?
No.
Oh man, I know you unhorsed some. Did you get any fade off any? With bows?
Yeah, I got fade off like 1, I think.
Dude, that's wild.
It
It's a hard list to face because you just really feel like it's that person's game.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, I'm the computer
Yeah.
for you to play against. You feel like you have 0 agency.
Yeah. And so many black darts. I mean, usually you're not black darting warriors, oh, what a bad move. But when you got that many to throw around, it's just like, cool, there goes a King's Guard, there goes another elf, there goes another elf, and there goes my knight, there goes another knight. Yeah, it was just a mess. It was
That's rough.
As bad as I think we all kind of know that Black Riders are to face. It was.
That's right.
It was rough. Not the worst pool to face them in, but I just couldn't.
I mean, yeah, they just have so much going for them in a situation like that. What do you do?
Yep.
I mean, really, what do you do?
Elf Courage didn't do me a lot of good when it's at -3.
No.
And of course, Círdan he was sapping will on Círdan to where my aura of command was no longer.
We knew that was only going to happen.
Yeah.
It was only going to last for seconds.
Yep.
Yeah, what do you do? I mean, do you just totally hide Círdan? I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know. If you hide him, then what's the point? What's the point of having him?
Yeah. Don't know.
So, a major loss for me, needless to say.
Rough.
And a rough start to the tournament. But surely my next game won't involve magic. What'd you face in turn one?
All right,
round
so,
one?
we also wound up playing Divide and Conquer. I will tell you, for these games, I don't really remember the veto situation, but I think Divide and Conquer was what I wanted to play here. Anyways, doesn't matter. He was running Minas Tirith. He had Elisar on horse, of course, and Gandalf the White on Shadowfax, and 3 knights, and then the rest were warriors of Minas Tirith. So fight 3, which was kind of wild, because I had a lot of fight 4 in my army.
Yeah.
Normally I put no stock in fight 4.
Yeah.
It's either but so it was pretty awesome to have that. With Divide and Conquer, of course, his army was separated just by his 2 warbands, but because of Elisar's free march and Gandalf on Shadowfax, they were able to get together pretty well. Jimmy did something I've never seen a Gandalf the White player do, which was pretty awesome when he's facing 2 wraiths. He channeled Fortify Spirit on both himself and Elisar.
Yeah.
Pretty much like turn 1 on himself, turn 2 on Elisar. So even though Gandalf was down 2 might, with free might from Elisar, I basically was like, well, I'm never casting a spell on them now. Because 2 free with a +1 on their highest, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But he charged into my main Mordor. So my Mordor force was one corner, and then Suladan was the other corner. And really the way the battle developed is my main Mordor force, he hit with all of his cavalry. The rest of his guys were still catching up. So he hit it with 2 or 3 knights, I don't remember for sure, Elisar and Aragorn. But I was able to get the Witch King into a beautiful hurl. And, naturally we had the roll-off to see who was going to get the heroic combat. I think, if I remember right, I was able to move some stuff to where Aragorn wouldn't have gotten into the Witch King if he had won his heroic combat, if I recall. But either way, I was able to get the hurl off and unhorsed Elisar, unhorsed Gandalf, killed one of the knights in so doing. And from that point on, I think it was kind of an uphill fight for him. Aragorn and Elisar were really fighting over one of the side objectives. He sent a shield wall towards the central objective, but I just mobbed it. I mobbed the center with so many Black Númenóreans and Morannons that they cleared it completely out. So I had the center, I think, completely. Then on the other side, when he had a shield wall of 6 guys, and I was just kind of playing, chicken with a serpent rider. And right towards the end of the game, I was just able to move some guys over there, and I think I got really lucky in some fights, and we wound up not scoring on that one at all. I completely held the center one. And the right one, I don't remember if I think I held it, but he contested it. I don't remember for sure. And I think I might have gotten him broken. I wrote down my victory points, I just don't remember what the final victory points were.
You got 7, he got 2.
Yeah, okay, so I think he got 2 from, maybe, I didn't break. He might have grabbed one of the objectives or something. I don't remember where his 2 came from, but I know I held the center. I don't think I wounded Elisar ever, but anyways, wound up being a major. I forget the exact breakdown of the points. I think, he just didn't have enough bodies to contend with me. When I outfight and he's wounding me on 6s, I'm wounding back on 5s with my Morannons, and that just doesn't, when he's not a shield wall, that just doesn't work as well for Minas Tirith.
Yep.
So that one wound up going to me. Definitely a major victory and a pretty good start. And it was not the last time I faced Gandalf the White this tournament, which was wild.
Yep.
Okay, so on to game 2. Where are you? What are you facing?
Yeah, so I didn't want to face magic. It was just Gilgalad, I want to enjoy and, wreck with him.
Do some slaying?
Yeah. So I faced Angmar with 4 Barrow-wights and the Witch King.
Only 4 Barrow-wights?
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. But, spoiler, better result this time.
Good.
So we played Breakthrough, which is you get more points for getting to your opponent's objective. And then there are also 2 on the center and the sides that are worth less. So he kind of deployed, so he spread out his Barrow-wights kind of evenly and his Spectres kind of evenly. but a little bit veered towards my right. So I sent Gil-galad over to the left to where his like warg. Oh, sorry, I should say what else. He had a warg chieftain also, and yeah, 4 barrel whites. I think maybe 5 or 6 specters, and then just the rest orcs, of course. Oh, and a handful of warg riders and wargs.
But he didn't have a lot. Like his army was only like maybe 30 models, something like that.
30 something. I think he maybe had a couple more than me, so probably 35 or 36.
Okay.
So yeah, with all the barrel whites to the right, I sent Gil-galad to the left. His Witch King was kind of to the left too for a while. I will say, made some interesting choices. He might have been a little newer. He really didn't focus on Gil-galad at all with magic, which I appreciated, but was surprised by. So Gil-galad got to go pretty early to my left, and the first turn he combated into his warg chieftain. Didn't quite kill him, but came pretty close. Second turn, he kind of piled on to Gil-galad, but either he didn't strike or he struck. Does the chieftain even have strike? Oh.
I don't remember, but maybe.
Either way, it didn't work out for the chieftain, and the chieftain died.
I don't think it does have strike. It has strength.
So got him right back with Gil-galad, and just kind of continued on my way to my left, kind of going around. Meanwhile, the warrior battles were going pretty well for me. He used a lot of paralyzes on my warriors, which, it wasn't great, but it wasn't the end of the world.
Yeah.
So I had a few elves paralyzed, but otherwise I was kind of able to charge through. He had his lines set up kind of in columns because he had his specters in the back, but I was able to charge through. Thankfully, Círdan kind of negated his whole terror situation. So yeah, charged through, killed some specters, tied up some barrow whites for a few turns when I won priority. It all just went pretty well for me. I mean, I outfought
I'm sure
him.
His orcs just melted.
Yeah, they melted. I mean, with
terror with Círdan doesn't do much.
because I was winning on 5s.
What was the Witch King doing this whole time?
Man, not much, honestly. Not much that did a lot for him.
I think if I remember looking at the list, he didn't have a lot of will on him, right? It was like pretty low.
I don't even remember. I think maybe he black darted. No, I don't think he even black darted knight. He paralyzed both knights by the end of the game, but he did that pretty late too. So knights got direct. Like I said, maybe a little newer. But by the end, I tied him on the. I had one of my. No, actually, I did tie him. He didn't outnumber me on the objective in his deployment zone. So we tied there. So it was a wash. I had my own deployment zone, and the left one and the right objective. I don't remember, but I broke him. I don't remember what happened with the right objective. I'm blanking on the right side. I think I had it. If anybody had it, it was me. It was not him. It was a major win for me. I know that much. It went pretty well. As scared as I was of the Witch King and 4 barrow whites, the barrow whites were not close enough to Gil-galad to do anything to him.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. You got Gil-galad out of there.
Yeah. And just being able to tie him up and kind of choose how the warrior fights went, because I was fearless.
Right.
I also killed so many wargs and warg riders with Gil-galad in the early game, and my Numenor captain also was kind of wrecking them. So it went pretty well for me. So
nice.
I'll take that.
Okay, that's good.
Afraid of Angmar, but it went okay.
Glad that Gil-galad got to do Gil-galad things. It's always fun. Okay. Well, my game 2 was against Zach. Awesome guy. Played him last time. You might remember him from the first tournament report. We talked about that game because it was pretty epic. And he was running Riders of Éomer. So another Gandalf the White. And Éomer, of course. And he had Erkenbrand. And then 15 more riders. He had 18 total models, if I remember correctly. And I believe our mission was Domination. Could I get you to double check that? But I think we played Domination.
You didn't write it down.
I didn't write it down. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Domination. The game was interesting. So he was very cagey, as you got to be with riders. You know, he took a lot of shots, and he really split up quite a bit. He was covering a lot of ground. Early on, as we were sort of jockeying for position, I was really holding on to the center. I had kind of a, not mobile force, but I could reposition my army pretty quickly. I really held the center. He was picking off a couple guys with bows here and there, but, And then, so I sent a pretty big force pushing deep into one of his objectives where he had Aomer and a couple riders. I also sent the Witch King. I did the thing. I compelled a rider forward, charged him, called heroic combat, killed him, had the perfect hurl lined up. It was a perfect hurl. And I rolled I think a 2 high. And he rolled either a 5 or a 6, and I couldn't might to it. I was like, okay, well that sucks. The very next turn 3 or maybe turn 4, I don't know. There was a lot of, those early turns kind of bleed together. He called a move with Aomer. I called a move with the Witch King. He won the roll-off. Witch King got pretty surrounded and trapped. We both struck. We both fight 5. He outstruck me. Witch King dead. Right there. So it's like, okay. But he was also still running Riders of Aomer.
Yeah.
So as the rest of the game developed, there was a lot of very cagey movement, a lot of like threatening, I've got this, but I could move and block that. Towards the end of the game, he made a pretty big push with Erkenbrand and some riders kind of way down my left side, which is far away from where Aomer was. A lot of bow shots, and I really kind of stopped that Erkenbrand push. I was able to unhorse Gandalf. I was able to unhorse Erkenbrand just through like warrior fights, and I got Suladan in there. Suladan eventually got unhorsed. I don't know. It's kind of all blending together to me now because it was all over the board. Lots of little fights here and there, but at the end of the day, he finally pushed Aomer and a force deep into my backfield. I had a force holding an objective deep in his backfield, and the center was mostly mine. So I think he held one objective all to himself. I held 2 objectives all to myself. I think I just broke him on the last turn, if I remember correctly. And then we had a couple contested objectives. So the final score was, can you help me out with that? I know it was a minor victory.
6-3.
It was 6-3. It was a minor victory. I think he might have got wounds or possibly even killed Suladan. I don't remember exactly. But it was a really good game. Playing Zach was awesome, and we had so many like pocket games going on that it's like hard for me to even like recount the whole thing, which is kind of interesting. Normally it was like, and we played the game here, but it was like, okay, there's stuff up here. Now I'm going to this theater of war. Now I'm going to this theater of war. So it was pretty fun, and it was cool to see Riders of Aomer, frankly, doing okay, as well as Riders of Aomer probably could be doing, but. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't really remember what my Ring Wraith did. I think I mostly hit him and then used his might for moves to make sure I was like charging Erkenbrand and things to make sure he wasn't getting the charge bonuses. A lot of shooting back and forth the whole time. It was a really fun game all over the board, and yeah, wound up being a minor win for me. So
pretty good.
Without further ado, on to Game 3.
On to Game 3. So the days of Magic ended, thankfully for me. So my Game 3 was against Minas Tirith with Boromir, Faramir, and a Bolt Thrower. I don't think he had a captain or anything.
No.
And we played to the death, which is about breaking, killing, wounding leader, maybe banner points. Yeah, banner points.
Yeah, probably.
Sure. Yep. So. Knowing I'm facing a Bolt Thrower, knowing I have a bunch of bows, I deployed pretty far back. The plan was to just kind of sit back and shoot while he approached me, presumably moving his Bolt Thrower forward and until he was in range to actually Bolt Throw me. He did not like that, so he offered to shake hands and draw, and I said, no, that's okay. I'll start moving forward if that's the alternative. So it was kind of...
Well, you still outshoot him even if you inch forward, even if you, slightly move forward. That Bolt Thrower, really against Blinding Light, is still not getting very many hits. Did he have a lot of other bows? I'm sorry, did you already say?
He had maybe 6 or 7 Rangers.
Yeah. You probably win that as long as you're in your Blinding Light bubble.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, shooting was fairly ineffective for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, not the most friendly game after that. I guess didn't recover from the anger over my strategy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so move forward. Kind of, he had sent
to revisit that too. I mean, that is kind of your army list, but and I see that it's maybe his too. He invested in it, but with elves, and you've seen it on our channel. It's like hey man, if I'm not incented to come forward, why would I?
Yeah, and part of my army bonus is about staying still.
Right, it's
and
about staying still and shooting. And so obviously you don't want to just shake hands and call it a draw, but there is a little bit of like, you know, I mean, it is on both of you to make it a game if you want to.
Yeah.
If a draw is fine, and and I could see other situations where I'd be like, you're right, I'm not going to come forward.
Yeah.
If he outshot you, you're not going to come forward.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can see where it comes from, but I guess being salty about it's
right.
Like,
offering to draw is fine. Saying, I don't want to come to you either. Fine. I mean, I get it. Like, but you feel like
I mean, he's basically saying, hey, I'm not going to come at you.
Yeah.
So.
But being mad when I basically say,
when
sure,
you refuse it, say, I'll actually go for it. Okay, all right. Well, now,
but the rest of the game,
if you're cool with that, you've made it a game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
It was very unfriendly for the rest of the game, and I tried to, say, I'm kind of doing essentially what you wanted me to do, right? I'm coming forward and ready to fight. I think he was also just mad that Kirdan existed and I had blinding light. And I don't know. It was very.
Sometimes folks get salty in a situation, and sometimes it's just toy soldiers. So, but you never know.
Yeah. So anyway, glad I didn't draw because as the game progressed, he had sent like a small contingent to my left. So those were that side of my force. I moved full speed. I was like, I'm not going to worry about shooting. I'm just going to go after them. And Kirdan was with them. So move full speed, cast blinding light each turn. I didn't even channel it just because I figured we'd be stuck in soon. I'll save the night. Eventually, while he kind of hung back as I approached him so he could shoot me with his bolt thrower, kind of funny, he picked off a couple models with his bolt thrower on my way up. But I eventually surrounded him, cleared off that entire side of the board, which was probably maybe 10 models of his. Meanwhile, Gil-galad and my Numenor captain were on my right side, a bit farther away from his bolt thrower. Mm-hmm. So with them, I was moving 3 inches each turn to appease him by still moving, moving 3 inches forward and shooting. Pretty ineffective shooting, though. I maybe killed 2 models with bows the entire game, to be honest. So, but Gil-galad on maybe the first turn of his combat, heroic combated into Boromir, who he didn't strike after I.
Oh, even seeing that I was
combated. Yeah. I didn't kill him on that turn, but then the next turn I did. So I killed Boromir pretty early.
Did he strike on the next turn?
Nope.
Really?
Boromir died with 5 might. It was a little baffling.
Okay, that's interesting.
I don't.
All right.
But maybe his mind was clouded with anger.
Yeah.
So from then it was just...
it was like you get tilted sometimes. Maybe he was just tilted at that point.
Yeah. His bolt thrower wasn't popping off. Boromir was dead. So
bolt thrower doesn't pop off against blinding light. I do think expectations for a bolt thrower, the reality is never what it is in your mind.
Yeah.
Because even still, you're rolling a 6. Did he have the extra ammo?
He did have rapid reload.
Okay. So you're still getting like 3.5, 4 shots.
Yep.
They hit on 4s, 2 hits. 7 against D6 is still 4. It's like, bolt throwers aren't that awesome. They're good. They're worth 50 points.
Yeah.
And really no more.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, so, I mean, my warriors were wrecking. I outfought him. I had the strength 4 in the back. He didn't have enough warriors of Minas Tirith to really be getting shield wall that much. He had a few Fountain Court cards, or maybe he didn't. Either way, not enough, I think. And Gil-galad also kind of killed his knights, and after killing Boromir, getting a might back, and just going through.
And then just fight value dropping.
Yeah, I just plowed through everything. So it ended up being a 12-0 because I killed his leader. My leader was unwounded. I broke him without being broken. I had a banner, he didn't. Yeah, he had a second banner, but I killed that too. 12-0, major victory. So yeah, it was not fun, but I got a major, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, hey, a 12-0 crossing the field is not bad.
Yeah,
not bad.
Glad I didn't shake hands.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been a bummer too that early.
Yeah.
But that mission doesn't really incent you coming at, so it does sort of. I mean, objectively, you can see where he's coming from. Not saying that justifies being salty, but you can see the situation was like, oh, if I walk forward, you're going to shoot me to pieces. I can see that.
Yep.
Okay, so my next game was against Dan. Dan was very new. He was playing Easterlings, but not Host of the Dragon Emperor. He was led by Amdur. He had Rutabi. He had Brorgir. All on foot except for 2 cataphracts and 1 cataphract drummer. He had a smattering of black dragons and regular guys. only 2 archers, and going into this pool, I was like, well, Amdur clearly a better fighter than Suladon, but only 3 will, and I got 2 casters.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to do Contest of Champions because I think I can win this, and we both vetoed Contest of Champions, and we did it. And I hung back with Suladon right off the bat. I will say he was very new, and I was giving him, I think, good advice. Like, so right off the bat, I cast a Sap Will, and he was like, "Hey, like, what should I do?" And I was like, "All right, look, I'll help you out here. I think if you have 3 will, you don't bother resisting. I think if you have 2 or less, you do.
Yeah.
I think that's the way I
hope you roll a 6 and go.
And I told him, like, I think that math makes sense because I have to roll well to sap your will completely, but if you spend 1 and fail, then I'm really happy. Yeah. So you kind of, it's a risk reward. So he did that. Of course, I only sapped 1 will, so he had 2 will left. Over the course of the game, though, of course, I sapped him. He went for a turn 1 trimmer on Suladon, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even like see this. He spent a might on it. He channeled it and everything, and so I had to burn all 3 of Suladon's will because I was like, if I lose my horse, I will not win this game.
Yeah.
So I used all 3 of his, and I did resist it on the 3 roll, but he was out of will. So I was a little worried at that point. I was like, all right, now I'm like a little scared, but Rutabi spent a bunch of will to do that. I'm sorry, Brorgir spent a bunch of will to do that. So long story short, will disappeared from his heroes. The front line was terror, and he didn't get Fury up. I do think at the end of the game he actually had some will left on Brorgir, but I think he kind of just forgot about it or didn't know about Fury, and I didn't even think to really burn it down because at this point I was just constantly transfixing Rutabi and Amdur. Every turn they were transfixed. They did nothing the whole time. Or we fought in a very narrow corridor. It was like maybe 6 models frontage, so it was like just this mess. He did get 1 round off of Amdur. Amdur charged 2 orcs, called a heroic combat. He killed 2 orcs, heroic into 2 more, but actually only wound up killing 1 of those. So he had 3 kills long before I ever even started killing. But then as the game developed, I opened up a little channel for Suladon to ride his horse through without, like, no risk of being surrounded. I just sent him in. He had all his might. I was like, at this point, I just need to get like 6 kills because Amdur's never not getting unstuck now. The Witch King's job is to just sit there and do stuff and maybe kill some things, but I never was overly risky with him. Yeah. And so eventually, Suladon got his kills, called some heroic combats. I got to 6 kills exactly. He killed 2, and then I think heroic into 1, and then did that same thing again, or like 1 and 1. Either way, over the course of it, wound up getting to 6 kills. And that was basically the game. I doubled him on that. I did finally kill his leader, I believe. I had him completely surrounded every turn, and just he would roll, got the 6, okay, cool. But he can't strike. So by the end of the game, I just had his lead. I had like 9 models on his leader every single turn, and I do think he maybe eventually failed, and I killed him. I'm gonna have to again have you look at my victory points because I just don't remember what the victory points were.
You got 7, he got 0.
I got 7 points. I think I doubled him and maybe killed his leader. I don't think either one of us quite broke. Again, it was like a very grindy D6 fight there in the middle. So I don't remember if there were banner points or whatever for that mission. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, 7-0, major victory. He was very new, still made some good decisions. Probably the most epic thing he did was he had some acolytes, and one was able to climb up a thing and kind of get up this broken stair, but then I sent the Witch King into him, and then I hurled him down his whole army, and he was 6 inches off the ground, so I could see it in my head, this poor guy just Wilhelm scream getting tossed across the battlefield. So that was pretty neat. Witch King was great in this, of course. Having the second caster was awesome because I was now calling heroic combats, and Rutabi would have been doing nearly free ones if she rolled the 3 up with Master of Battle, so keeping both of them transfixed just every single turn. Yeah. And they were just sitting there doing nothing. He had no hero whatsoever. And I just kind of leisurely, finally, okay, now it's time to get Suladon in, and I moved guys back, made the channel, and he charged in. So it worked out really well. Contest of Champions, a scenario I have not played in a very long time. We haven't played it on the channel ever, I don't think.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think we've probably only ever played it 2 or 3 times ever.
Yeah.
And so it was fun to get to play one that I don't normally play. So yeah, that was a 7-0, another major victory. So recap day 1, you're on 2 big wins and 1 loss.
Yep.
I'm on 2 big wins and 1 minor win. Right?
Pretty good.
Okay, well, shall we talk about day 2? I guess in between there, hey, we went to that same Mexican restaurant we did last time, had some awesome margaritas. The food was fantastic. The company was better. What a great crew.
It's great, yeah.
Really, really awesome group of people. I think the last time we came down, we were like, yeah, this is a fantastic community.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Way better than everybody in Richmond. So if you're watching, you're inferior and we don't like you.
Our friends in Central Virginia, you guys got to step it up.
Yeah, come on.
No, that's not true at all. That's not true at all. But just a stellar community. Yeah. I think made us feel right at home. Mm-hmm. Having dinner with people, it's like, it's like old friends now, it feels like.
It's nice, yeah.
Really awesome crew. So on to day 2. Day 2 morning.
Yep.
What did you face right off the bat?
So
this is fresher. Day 2 is today, so I might be able to remember my scores.
Yeah, so day 2, round 1, I faced Isengard, which was like Lurtz, Malher, Vrasku, and the other one, Ugluk. And we, much to my dismay, played Heirlooms of Ages Past, my least favorite scenario in the game. And I got priority on the first turn. Great. I love to have priority in Maelstrom scenarios.
Yeah, gosh,
great.
That sucks. I kind of like Heirlooms except for that it's also Maelstrom.
Dicey enough as it is with
Maelstrom.
It's dicey enough. Another layer.
It's so wonky.
So I went first with Círdan because I wanted to be able to just react with everyone else and spend might as needed to make sure he was safe. Círdan rolled a 4, so I kind of put him in a corner. Then I went with the captain, I think. Also rolled a 4, put him with Círdan. And then I went with Gil-galad, who rolled a 1. So maybe next turn.
That's actually not the worst. If you won priority, having Gil-galad
being able to react isn't terrible.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
And he spread out pretty. 3 of his warbands, he was in 3 different locations. So I guess in one location he had 2 warbands. But everything of his got on in the first turn. Second turn, I think I won priority, so started moving Círdan and the captain forward a little bit. I didn't have a hole for the captain to march, so but didn't need to at that point anyway since it was early, and I'd have a lot of ground to cover. Gil-galad, I rolled I think a 4 again, so I parked Gil-galad behind one of his sort of less protected warbands, thinking, well, I'll put a big dent in his army early on.
Start chopping?
Yep. So I got on, and he had drummed also, so with that warband, so he wouldn't be able to charge me anyway. But he moved to the objective farthest from everyone in my army, and the first one he tried was a 6.
No.
Yep.
That's such a nightmare.
Yep. I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
Choo-choo.
You had just said he dug up the
he dug up the
furthest from your army.
Yep. So from then on,
you should know you were playing on a Rohan village board.
Definitely.
It was the Conquest Creations buildings, and they had the big hall, the Meduseld hall.
That will matter.
Yeah, that will matter.
So he started sending some guys of his into that building, but I kind of focused on, handling that warband that Gil-galad had deployed behind for the most part. I did start putting like 1 or 2 guys into the building because I knew his plan was, at the beginning I knew his plan was to take the objective over towards that building because he was piling everybody in it. Later I realized there's a ladder in that building that leads up to the 2nd floor. And between him marching and drumming and having scouts and things like that, he, long story short, was able to get into that building and up the ladder into that
and he
attic.
Had so many Uruks. You were on the table behind me, and there were just so many of those Uruks just filling every corner of that building.
Yep. So I marched in the following turns with my captain to try and get Kirdon and all my Numenorians over. They were pretty late. The first couple of rounds of dueling went horrible for me, despite being elves. It was really bad. I wasn't even, it was probably 2 to 3 fights, or, 2 of my guys versus 1 shield guy and 2 pikes pretty often, but didn't win any of them in the first turn and died more than I should have. So once Gil-galad showed up, I cleared out some guys outside of the building, dismounted, went in the building, and just chopped and heroic combated every turn I could till I was out of might, because I knew, I had to get to that ladder, I had to get upstairs. So, I broke him, I was doing fine, I didn't break, and he wasn't making courage checks until he was, 66%? Yeah. But the clock ran out. Gil-galad was at the ladder. He would have been up the ladder that turn, but he opted not to stand fast when he was past his break point. Opted not to stand fast
because it ends unquartered. Is that why?
It ends unquartered, and so 3 of his Uruks failed their courage checks, and he got quartered on the turn that I would have been up the ladder. But I still would have had to, because he had Lurtz upstairs.
More guys up there. Lurtz had full
banner,
might, right?
Yeah.
Gosh.
There was just insurmountable. I don't think there's anything I could have done. It was just bad luck. The location of things and the rolling that 6 and the duels going bad, because if the early duels had gone better, I would have probably cleared enough of a path for Gil-galad to get up there maybe 2 or 3 turns earlier, but just did not.
That's awful. It really sucks.
Yeah.
Inside a building stuff is crazy. It is, and I commented on this, and I'm sorry. It is like a super cool narrative.
True. It was. Yeah.
It sucks to have in a tournament. Make no mistake.
Yeah.
But what a cool they got the thing and they're scrambling. It's like the hallway scene in Rogue One with Darth Vader. Like Gil-galad is just chopping through stuff.
Yeah, I think Gil-galad killed 20 models.
That's insane, man.
It was fun in that way, and a very friendly opponent. And I don't blame him for doing what he did. It feels bad on my end, but it's a tournament,
Yeah, that's right. That's it's a smart play.
Yep.
Sucks because rolling the 6.
Yeah, so many things went
wrong.
wrong.
Dig the thing up. Was he ever transfixed? Did that ever slow him down? Yeah. But still, he had such a big lead because your guys were so far behind.
Yeah, and he was just able to spread out guys and plug me up to clear a path for him to get in the door closest to the ladder on his side. I just couldn't get around there. I combated with Gil-galad, but I was 1 clump of guys away from getting to him. There was no way I could get to him before he got into the building and up the ladder. It was insurmountable. I really think there's no way I could have won that.
It doesn't sound like it. I mean, I saw the situation. I was like, there's no way, because he had his whole army between you and that thing.
Yeah.
And to get to it, you would have had to kill enough to quarter him, and that's
right. That's the issue.
So there was just no way.
The quartering was the
we
problem.
We had to do it all on 1 turn.
Because I was shielding with everybody but Gil-galad in the last 2 or 3 turns because I didn't want him to get quartered.
You didn't want to kill stuff. Yeah.
But we had to look up okay, because somebody has that rule where he can eat an orc to automatically pass his courage check for being broken.
Ugluk, chopped head taker.
But he can still opt to not have stood fast. So
gotcha.
Despite doing that, so he got to kill an orc to do that on its own, and then he only needed, I think, 3 more to die.
Man,
and they did.
Wild, man.
Yeah,
just wild.
It was a wild one. It was a good story, so whatever.
Yeah, I mean. It's a good story. That's what you got
going
for it.
So died my chances at the podium.
Yeah, that sucks, dude. All right, well, I'm going to come back with mine, and we're going to take a quick break for dinner here. So I'll talk about my start of day 2.
Bye. Hey, welcome back. We just ate dinner. We're energized. We're feeling great. We're ready to talk about Game 4 for Steve over here.
That's right. We are, Andrew. Thanks for bringing us back.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I wasn't sure we'd ever get back, but we found our way.
We made it.
All right, my Game 4, first game of day 2, was against Gray. Gray was running a horde of elves. He was running Lothlorien, he had Galadriel, he had Haldir, and he had is it a Stormcaller?
Stormcaller, yeah.
Which, here's the funny thing. Looking at the Stormcaller, that spell does knock you prone, which on Cavalry is actually pretty good. It's kind of like a weak Sorceress Blast. That being said, it is still a Stormcaller. So I'm not suggesting they're good. But I actually was like, if I don't resist it, the Witch King could be knocked prone.
Yeah.
Okay. So he had 38 models. I have 40. His are elves. He did have a lot of wood elves with a lot of bows. And I was actually scared looking at this pool. I was like, I don't know, you know, what I can pull out here, especially because it's Maelstrom and like you just don't know. So I looked at the pool and decided Heirlooms of Ages Past was my best bet to get lucky and have a lucky thing. And I even knew, like, okay, the way this normally goes is we each have one objective left, and at the end, maybe I can make something special happen. I can get the Witch King to charge in and grab one. I also knew that leader kills, banner kills were worth 2 points each, and I could probably just completely hide Suladon, but he can't do the same with Galadriel, and probably won't do the same with his banner. So I kind of had all my eggs in the Suladon basket that I knew I could keep hidden. So anyways, I chose to veto Heirlooms, again going with my policy of playing, and he vetoed it too. So Heirlooms is what we played. He then won the first priority, which was pretty nice. That being said, the way deployment wound up working is we basically approached from opposite ends of the table. I spent 1 might to keep my army together. I don't remember if he spent a might or not, but his army was pretty well spread out, but on one side of the table, and I didn't really want to pounce. I think I had one good roll, but I was like, I think pouncing is super risky. Haldir rolled a 1, so Haldir didn't come on until turn 2, so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna fall back here. We both did the thing where we dug up 4 of the 6 objectives. We were going for it. Neither one of us found the objective. And then we basically kind of just sat. Now, I did have a plan here. He was shooting me up pretty good, but with D6. And there was a dirt mound that I kind of had my army behind that, you know, he had in the ways for. And it was the MVP. I mean, so many arrows were stuck in that. Dirt mound MVP for sure.
Dirt man.
And he also had a lot of guys with Elven Cloak, so he was like getting into positions where I couldn't shoot back.
Yeah.
I just weathered the storm, and I literally think we probably played 20 turns, which is fine. He was kind of cagily approaching me. I would sometimes push forward and back, but you know, our battle lines were never reasonably going to clash because those objectives were just past the 6-inch minimum on either edge. So there's like 3 feet between the objectives. Like, no way my army's going to push through. Frankly, I don't think there's any way his army's going to push through. I was being very cagey with the Witch King. I did a couple of, like, compels here and there, but he had tons of will left. So, as the game developed, I knew, okay, right towards the end, this is my shot. He had his banner out. Okay, I got to tell you, this was my plan. I knew I would get this opportunity. Actually, I had 3 opportunities in my head, okay? One was kill his banner to win 2-0. The other was get a cheeky heroic combat or something and try to kill Galadriel. That's a bigger gamble, but again, I don't really lose anything for losing the Witch King. And the third was, if he leaves that back objective just open enough, I would fly the Witch King, dismount, grab it, probably roll that it's not a 6, and then I would have it.
Right.
He kind of saw that and had guys around that, so I couldn't really do that. But right on the last turn, I flew the Witch King forward, had a beautiful shot on his banner. There was no warrior next to it. He was just standing in the open, and what he thought was relatively safe, I think I put 5 dice into the Black Dark, because I really was saving all my will for this moment.
Yeah.
Got the 6. He's Lothlorien. He rolled a 6 on the resist.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, heartbreaking. And I was like, and you witnessed that. I think you were there for that roll. And I was like, well, I mean, that was my shot. So the game ended with both of us having both of those objectives undug up. So we don't know which one was the real one. And, you know, we kind of talked about it, like, we were both playing the smartest game I think we could have.
Yeah.
You could have gambled a little more, but I was already planning to gamble. His gamble was to try to break me with shooting. So he was going for that. I was going for the... And I frankly think if I had charged him, I probably would have wound up dying, because I would have weathered so much shooting.
Yeah.
Because I would have had to cross literally 3 feet to even have a chance to get to that other side. No way I would have broken him. But I also think him charging me would have been super risky, too, because I had both... my other Ring Wraith, I think, spent 2 will the whole game. So if he would have approached me, I would have swamped him. You know, I would have got the Witch King getting some hurls, perhaps anyways. But again, he had like 3 feet to cross the board. And because he was trying to stay in cover, because frankly, my shooting back on those Pajama Elves is pretty good. So he just never really could form up the line. So, so in the end, it was a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
Because we both had banners. And I think he forgot that Suladon was a banner, because he said at the end, he's like, nope, I got 1 point for a banner. I was like, well, so did I. He's like, oh, right. So I do think in his mind, obviously we weren't discussing it. I think he didn't feel super compelled to push forward.
Right. He thought he had a
because he thought he had the win. And, I think he just was like, oh, right, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big deal. And I shot it, trying to kill that banner. And I knew I only had one shot. Because as soon as I did it, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to completely bubble wrap this banner. You're never going to get that opportunity again.
Yep.
So, that was the game. I got to say, my game with Gray was, even though that game was like the least gamey, I mean, we really just kind of shot and moved back and forth and a little bit of jockeying. It was by far my favorite game of the tournament. Gray was so fun to play with. I think we had a really fun, clean game. And we played, because we never really locked battle lines, we played like 20-something turns. I mean, I would not be surprised if the count was in the low, 20s, maybe even 25. We played a lot of turns.
Yeah.
He did wind up killing 11 guys, maybe, I think. 12 guys with shooting, but still nowhere near the break. And I really think, just analyzing, I was joking. I was like, I feel like we both read the instruction manual for our army and played it that way.
Yeah.
I don't think he should have approached me. He had a lot of D3. Haldir's susceptible. I don't think I should have approached him. He had a lot of bows. So I think we kind of both did what made the most sense, and it wound up being a draw.
Yeah.
But sometimes I walk away from a draw like, man, that game was a bummer. It just didn't feel like a bummer. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see the pajama elves in action. He was getting the cover, and it was really cool. What were you going to say?
Oh, just that you did at least have one exciting moment where it was the game rested on a die roll.
The game rested on him needing, because I had might with the Witch King left too. I had 2 might, so I would, even if I rolled a 1 on the wound, I would have killed that banner. But he rolled that 6, and actually, I think I only ever cast 4 spells, and he resisted 3 of them on 6.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was cool. But that's his army bonus, right? That's why you play pure, rather than allying in Galadriel into some kind of soup list. So with that, I was 2 major wins, 1 minor win, and a draw going into the final game. So final game, here we go. How about you? How'd it go?
Final game for me was against Tyler, who was running Men of the West. So he had Elisar and Gandalf the White and a Minister of Captain. And then nothing but Minister of Warriors.
How many models was in that?
28, I want to say.
Yeah. That doesn't feel like a lot, but, because Gandalf the White. But nothing mounted.
Yeah. So Tyler has watched our channel before and expressed to me that he feels for my bad dice. So he learned today that it's not a trick of the camera, it's real.
It's not behind the scenes.
Yeah. So we played Seize the Prize, which, he has no horses. Good news for me. I have March and I have Rivendell Knights. I had 2 Rivendell Knights, so naturally turn 1. I march, I send 1 knight in to kind of park on / slightly in front of the objective. The other one to go forward, dismount, and try to dig it up.
Right.
I rolled a 3, so I did not dig it up.
Gosh.
And the way it was set up, there was this big terrain piece almost in the center. So the objective was just to the left of it, basically touching it, or almost touching it. And then between that, or the other side of the objective, maybe 5 inches, had another big terrain piece. So I was funneled into a 5-inch wide area. So I just had it was kind of a 5 model, maybe 6 model wide frontage, and then just a bunch of stuff behind. So it was tricky.
That's great for him when he's outnumbered, right? He wants to fight you like Thermopylae.
Yeah, and he marched 2 for free, of course. So he was right in there in turn 2. He won the turn 2. I called a heroic move with either Gil-galad or my captain again. I don't remember who was in a better position to do it. And he called a free one with Aragorn.
That's rough, man.
And he won the roll-off.
Yeah, that's rough because, that's the game right there. That second roll-off in your situation, probably the game. Man.
Pretty much. He didn't... Since I was parked on top of it with my knight and the guy who failed to pick it up, he couldn't get it on that turn.
Right.
But, he surrounded him since I lost the roll-off. I think that turn he tried to Sorceress Blast Gil-galad. I spent all 3 will and a might to not get blasted.
Ouch.
So I charged into the guy who tied up the guy who was on top of the objective, thinking, I need to like keep that guy alive and in place. But it was all so crowded that there wasn't even a reason for me to call a combat because I couldn't go anywhere. It was just
gotcha.
It was just such a stopped up mess. And Tyler will attest, the first round and almost every round of duels were so bad for me. I rolled so bad. I mean, yeah. And then the second turn, I don't have a super clear memory of how it worked out, but Aragorn was able to. The next turn of combat. Yeah, not much happened on the first turn of real combat. The next turn of combat, Aragorn was able to get in. He successfully Sorceress Blasted Gil-galad. And this could have been the next turn, I'm not sure. But so I actually picked it up that turn. But Aragorn engaged the guy who picked it up.
I was gonna say you couldn't like hide him. You couldn't get him out.
No,
you picked it up, but couldn't get him out.
It's at the end of your move,
right?
So I couldn't move after that.
And you can't hand it off the turn you pick it up, right?
Right. I think. Plus, it was
Can you not dig it up and hand it off? When does it hand off? On your move or the other guy's move?
I think you hand it off on your move.
Yeah. And if
I'm
it's
pretty
the
sure
end of your move that you dig it up.
Otherwise, you could just daisy chain it forever, right?
You can't. It specifically says you can only hand it once.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I missed out on that, but
I don't know.
But I think the guy behind him got actually Sorceress Blasted too.
Oh, gotcha.
Gil-galad got Sorceress Blasted into the guy that was behind the guy that picked it up.
Yeah.
Who was a Kingsguard. And I think that's the turn that Aragorn also called for Frodo. So Aragorn then outfought my Kingsguard. So he killed the guy, took it, was able to go back around that big inconvenient terrain piece gradually. And at that point, he was winning so many of the warrior fights. I had Círdan's warband going around the other side because I was like, I'm not going to put another 7 models into this funnel. And just so I was trying to go around. But then Aragorn, combated into that group once it got close enough. It was just a disaster in all ways. And we determined, you could march your way off the board. There's no way I could stop you. I had some guys coming around, but with March, he was for free every turn.
He was never going to catch him. Get blocked, yeah.
But he decided for fun, let's just send Aragorn back into the fray, let him fight Gil-galad, and we had fun. My dice were still bad for the rest of the game. Gil-galad, the one turn he was engaged with Aragorn, and Gil-galad only had 1 might left, so Aragorn struck, and I was like, I'm not going to spend it. I'm just going to hope that Aragorn, rolls
a 1 or a 2 or a 3 to tie.
Yeah, he rolled a 2. Cool. Hey, this is good news, everybody.
Good.
Hey, we just wait. And then I rolled 3 dice with Gil-galad and rolled 2 2s and a 1. Re-rolled with Lord of the West and rolled another 1. So he was surrounded. Like Gandalf was there and a bunch of other warriors. So Gil-galad died in 1 turn.
Gosh.
It was it was not good. So thanks, Tyler. He was really nice. It was fun to play, and he opted to let's have fun with the end of the game and just do this. But,
I mean, it's sort of like he could get out, but we have an hour and a half left or something silly. So let's just roll dice while we're here. Yeah.
But in the end, even though Aragorn was on his side of the board, and I was like, you opted to have fun. Those you take 12 points because you would have gotten them. So.
Man,
yeah.
bummer, dude.
Yeah, not a great day 2 for me.
No.
2 of my least favorite scenarios.
No.
Though I don't hate Sea Surprise. I think I'm on record saying I don't hate Sea Surprise, but it just didn't work out for me.
Sea Surprise isn't horrible, but
failing to 50-50 rolls.
And I'm sure had your warrior rolls been a little better, they're pushing back more.
That would have made a big
opens
difference.
Up room.
If I picked it up on turn 1, that would have been great, or at least won the move off and being able to position in a way that makes it really hard for him to get to the guy that's on the objective. I think that move off would have given me a really good chance at winning the game because I could have gotten everybody around blocking that guy who was standing on top of the objective.
Right.
But I lost the move off. I didn't pick it up. And it was just over at that point.
Gosh.
Yeah. It was fun though. Sort of. It was very friendly.
Fun to play,
as
Tyler.
Fun as that could have been.
The game doesn't have to be fun. The opponent was fun. Yeah, I feel you.
So 2 fun but kind of miserable games in a row.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah. How about you?
All right, my last game, because of the way the pairings worked, I got to face Jimmy again. So I bookended my games with Jimmy. So this is the 3rd Gandalf the White. Did I face any list without magic? Yeah, really. Well, Rutabi isn't really much. So yeah, only one of my games didn't have Galadriel or Gandalf the White. So facing Jimmy again, if you remember, he was running Minas Tirith with Elisar and Gandalf the White, and that's it. And then just a bunch of dudes, a bunch of warriors of Minas Tirith, and 3 knights, if I remember correctly, 3. And we did Destroy the Supplies. Again, this was one I chose. It looked to be about the best for me, because I had a bunch of bows, he didn't. I knew that gave me a chance to unhorse some guys, to maybe unhorse, and just more time, I think, to develop is okay for me. I will say, of course, that means I knew he was going to get his Fortify Spirit going, but I was like, that's okay. I'm just not going to really focus on them anyhow. So, turn 1, he fortified Elisar's Spirit, and at the top of 2, I won priority, and I sent Gandalf in to try to, your staff is broken, and I didn't realize he could also spin Shadowfax's will on that. So we actually called a judge over, because I was like, I don't know that you can, but it does say a model armed with a staff. Yeah. I still am like, okay, but Shadowfax isn't armed with a staff. It's funky when it's model versus when it's not. But yeah. I agree with the ruling. I think it was totally on the level. So he wound up spending 2 of Shadowfax's and 2 of his own to resist the your staff is broken, and got it. So he stopped it, but I was like, man, that was my one shot again. And then after that, he fortified himself. So now both are, again, channeled Fortify Spirit up on himself. But he is down to 2 will. So yeah, that's something, but it's not enough now. With Fortify Spirit and the staff, it's not good enough. So, I was like, all right, well, that's no more casting on him. So at this point, he didn't have a lot of models. He only had 24 models. So I was kind of pushing forward in 2 or 3 spots, but I also knew that he can free march at any point. He had kind of moved Elisar Central, so I was like, I can't really overcommit, because then he could shift his whole army pretty quickly. So I didn't really overcommit, but I was inching forward, taking bow shots. I think I killed one of his knights in bow shooting, and he kind of saw an opportunity and charged in with his 2 remaining knights, Gandalf and Elisar, on kind of my forward-most guys. Oh, I know what he did. He commanded a guy forward. And I was like, well, I'm not going to let you slingshot off that, so I sent the whole line forward to, match him. And he charged in. And the way it worked out is it was if you can imagine in your head, on my right, it's a line of Morannons and Black Númenóreans. Elisar hit, a knight hit, and then he saw that there was a spot for me to hit that farthest knight and do a hurl, so he sent Gandalf to plug that hole, but did not charge anybody. So Gandalf's just chilling there.
Yeah.
So I sent the Witch King in to behind the 2 knights, and was able to get 3 more guys engaged with Aragorn, which means he can't heroic combat off me, because he can only kill 4.
Yeah.
So I had 5 models engaged with him, basically. And then the Witch King was under 1 inch away from Elisar and about 3 inches away from Gandalf. So I was like, okay, cool. And I had priority that turn, too. Because he had compelled the previous turn. So I called a strike with the Witch King.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm clearly going to barge, right? And Aragorn will be trapped. Gandalf's in the open. So he had to strike with both. And at that point, that's Gandalf's last point of might, and Aragorn's first point of actual might spent. Because I had priority, but he had called a move to do all that. That's what happened. So that was his free, so then he spent his first point of might. So he's now struck with both of them. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see what Aragorn's strike gets up to. He rolls Aragorn. He only rolls a 2, so he's on fight 8. And then he's fighting all these guys. He rolls a 5 high, I roll a 6, so he spends his second point of might to win, and then whiffs again on killing. He only kills 2 guys that turn, despite having charged. So he spent a point of might to win the fight, spent a point of might to strike, doesn't win the fight. And I'm like, all right, well, I can't see what Gandalf strikes up to, so I go with the Witch King next, and I roll a 1, so I'm only fight 6. So I'm like, all right, so I just kill that guy, and that's it. And I'm like, I spent 1 point of might, you had to burn 2.
Yeah.
And now the Witch King's sitting there in the middle of nothing. I think I killed the other knight too, if I remember right. I'm not positive, but I think I killed both knights. So it's Elisar, Gandalf. The rest of his guys are still a move behind, and I've got my whole Black Númenórean Morannon line. So now it's going to come down to move-offs, right? So he calls a free. I don't even remember who gets priority the next turn. I think it's me again, maybe. He calls a free move with Elisar. I call a move with the Witch King. And I'm also moving my Nazgul, my Ring Wraith, to get close to where he can call moves, because now the Witch King will be out of might. So I win the move off, and I just completely surround both of their models and pull the Witch King out. Like, I'm not going to really risk the Witch King, I think. And I think, again, LSR whiffs. LSR rolls like a 4 high on his fight, and he only has 1 point of might, and I roll the 6, so he doesn't spend it. And I roll wounds, and I do 5 wounds. I do 4 wounds to him, and he passes 2, fails 1. So he's down to 1 wound left, and I think maybe even he's out of might. I don't remember. He might have had 1 might left. Anyways, the following turn, his other guys still aren't really close enough. I'm kind of pushing towards one of the points, but I'm still pretty far out, and he has like mini shield walls covering each of his points. So rather than coming forward with everything, he hung back to prepare to protect those points because I'm shooting at him. And I have some Serpent Riders kind of pushing, but on the next turn, I now have, like, I think 11 models around, like, rolling against LSR. And we just do it again, and I charge him this time because I get the move off again from the Ring Wraith, who's now in range. And finally, I kill LSR. I mean, he dies to a bunch of black. He rolled, like, absolute garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, I think on that last fight, he might have gotten a 2 high.
Yeah.
It might have been, like, a 3. Because, he's a banner for himself, too. By the way, this whole time, I just put Suladon behind a building. I'm like, there's too many points at stake to even risk getting, Sorceress blasted off of Sorceress. I'm just hiding him. He's not even participating because he's worth 4 points.
Yeah.
And so, at that point, the next turn, it's over because I've killed LSR. He doesn't have a banner. I got a banner. And, there's still, like, probably 40 minutes, but neither one of us, I don't think, are anywhere close enough to where we're actually going to destroy a supply because he's got these shield walls parked on it. And I'd have to, like, get there and not have moved, and he knows what he's doing to protect him. So on the last thing we do, just to see, I charge the Witch King in, surround Gandalf, and I kill Gandalf, too.
Nice.
So it's like, okay. His dice were really bad.
Yeah.
I do think he probably committed them a little early. Maybe like he should have had some backup, but I was also threatening with my Serpent Rider. So if he had sent those guys, my Serpent Riders were in a great spot to go. So really, I think he kind of just went for it.
Yeah.
Because had he gotten a good, combat off Aragorn, he could have killed a bunch of my stuff over there. And there was a path where he could have gotten behind me and gotten to that point over there. Like, had he won that, he could have gotten cavalry swung around really wide. And all I had really back there were a couple of Haradrim warriors who aren't going to last long against Gandalf and LSR.
Yeah.
But this was really where the Witch King was just absolutely on fire. I mean, he was just bullying. He was just like, cool, well, I'm going to go here. And, that one turn where he did the strike, knowing he could barge into either one of them. And had I rolled a 10, I would have gone for Aragorn. Or really, Aragorn only rolled the 8. So I was like, oh, I might be able to get that. Didn't get anywhere near. So I was like, cool, I'll just kill this guy then. 1 point of might for 2 of yours. It's more valuable for me.
It's a good feeling.
So that was it. It was kind of a... We called it. We probably had like 30-something minutes left, but we were like, I don't think you're going to push my objectives. I'm not going to push yours, really. I could throw models at it, but, it would take me probably 4 turns to close the distance, and then we'd have to fight out that shield wall. We only had about a half hour left, so I don't think it was going to happen. Could have played it out to see if it got me more victory points, but at that point, again, Suladon not committing, no chance of breaking me, and he now has no chance of getting to my objective, so we just called it there. And it was a 4-0 to me, so another major victory.
Pretty good.
Not bad. So that is 3 majors, 1 minor, 1 draw. And it just so happened that I went into that last one, I think in third
or
place,
fourth,
maybe fourth place.
Third,
I don't know. And then, but the other top 2 players were Colin running the Black Riders that you faced, and Gray, who I faced in the previous round playing Lothlorien. They played Retrieval and had a 0-0 draw, which was enough for me to just sneak past them.
Yeah.
Just sneak past them and take the win. So it was pretty awesome, man. I got to give all credit to you on that list. I think you were the one who was really singing the praises of the Witch King on Fell Beast. And we were talking about this. I don't think I've ever not been a fan, but I think in the past he's always had to be the leader. Yeah. And that makes him really a liability, because he does die a lot when you really commit him, but it's Suladon that is the missing piece of that puzzle. And I know right now people are sick of Suladon Witch King. I don't think a lot of people are doing the mounted Witch King. I've seen a couple, but mostly he's still just the magic caster. Dude, the Witch King on Fell Beast with Suladon as your leader is amazing.
Those 40 points can pay for themselves so easily if you just, even if you save them for the last turn to pounce on a big hero, well, you kill him. So you would never have done that on a horse.
Yeah, it was so good, and I never felt down and out. Like I always felt like I had a good play. I mean, honestly, my second game was the only game I lost the Witch King, and that's because I completely whiffed on a hurl. It was already Riders of Aimer. Like it was an uphill fight for him.
Yeah.
Losing the Witch King is what made that an equal fight. I think I would have just bullied had the Witch King not died.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really good list, and it's really fun to play. It was really good. I really enjoyed that list, and I think that is like all credit to you because you are a big champion of that list. You did great with it at Richmond Open. Maybe a contender for Nova. Maybe not.
Don't think about it. Maybe.
Oh, that was fun, though. It was cool. It was a really good tournament.
Yeah.
Got some cool store credit at Atomic Empire, so gonna figure out what army we want to do next and see if Games Workshop can miraculously get that stuff in stock and get it over to them.
Yeah, we won an int from the raffle.
We did win an int from the raffle.
Maybe
That'd be
Fangor is
fun.
Next.
Yeah, I think we'll throw Treebeard in. Maybe Treebeard and Quickbeam. If they can order that. I know like Games Workshop is so restrictive on what even can be ordered.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Treebeard is regular stock, but I think Quickbeam might be like Forge World. I feel like that's like online only and stores can't order it or something. I don't really know. What closing thoughts on the tournament? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun tournament. I think we already said we liked the people down there.
Yeah.
List-wise, Gil-galad, it was what I expected.
Not great.
Yeah, I love him when he's not facing magic. He's so fun and so good. Like I was telling you before, my memory of facing a Hobbit horde army with like 8 Hobbit heroes and just getting might back every time.
Where he's just slicing and dicing,
blood and glorying everywhere, but just not competitive because of magic. It's 185 points, I think. All kitted out. That's too much for dead weight.
Glorfindel's a little cheaper, and he's not as killy, but he's way more well-rounded.
Yep.
Glorfindel is the superior tournament choice for Rivendell. That's what I found running Elrond. I did not like Elrond half as much as I liked running Glorfindel.
Yep.
Because he has spells, but he still only has, is it 3 will?
I think 3, yeah.
And
Arwen has 4. But
he just gets his will burned out by and Galadriel's everywhere now.
Yeah.
Galadriel is everywhere. So's the Witch King.
Apparently, so is Gandalf the White.
At this tournament, there were 4 Gandalf the Whites there. Jimmy had him. Tyler, who you played, had him. I think Xavier had him, I think.
Yep.
And then Zach with Riders of Aimer. There might have even been one more. I feel like there was another one, but so that was kind of funny and kind of kooky.
Yep.
All of my games were fantastic. I mean, Gray and Jimmy and Zach were especially fantastic to play. Great players who know what they're doing. Dan was fun to play. He's brand new to the game, so it's cool seeing someone like making the connections. I think he learned some stuff in that game. Seeing people like figure the game out. So it was. I had all good games. You had mostly good
3
games.
good games.
Yeah, mostly good games.
No, almost everybody's very friendly. I think I said everyone got at least 1 vote for best sportsman. So that's
right.
cool.
That is cool.
Speaks to
I think so.
At least everyone having the ability to.
Yeah, sucks you have the one salty game for sure. I mean, that's
I bet he didn't vote for me.
You don't need to harp on it. Yeah, but when you really step back, like I don't know, you didn't. I didn't witness it, but I can't ever imagine you ruffling someone's feathers being rude. That's just not who you are.
I wasn't meaning to. I wasn't being salty. Yeah. Anyway, we don't have to keep going. But I would be curious. What do you think in a tournament if someone decides they're just going to sit back and shoot?
Yeah.
Would that make you mad? I'm curious. Is that bad sportsmanship?
I mean, that's happened to me before. I mean, John and I at the last tournament had a situation where I was basically like, it doesn't. But
you guys also, your heirlooms game, that's what you guys both did, essentially.
That's true, we both did it, but we never were like, so draw? Like, we still did it. We still played it. Because that's the thing. You do it, you play it because you're looking for opportunities to exploit. And I was. If he got a little too close, I had my my ring wraith ready to compel some stuff. Like, I was looking for opportunities to exploit a mistake, which is why you play it out. I still figured it was going to end there. I didn't think it made sense for him to charge me. It didn't make sense for me to charge him. And I look at those situations and I'm like, it's a risk matrix for me. Like, if I attempt to charge him just because, I lose the game and lose the tournament. And if he charges me just because, he's making a really boneheaded decision. So it was one of those situations where I can at least see where you might want to do that. But even the game I played with John in our recent tournament, where he and I jockeyed for ages, we played like 15 turns before we were finally like, hey man, there's like 40 minutes left. I have no intention of coming at you because you've got a flying monster, you've got all this magic. You have no intention of coming at me because it's nighttime and I've got all these bows, right? Yeah. And he was like, I agree, I'm not going to come to you. So I'm like, all right, we've given this the old college try. And we did. We played 13 turns, and he was testing me. He was seeing how I would react with some things, and I always reacted the right way. Yeah. So we were like, yeah, dude, I don't know. We played so many turns, we were like, all right, let's just call it. So I think there is some nuance to it, but if it's like turn 2 or 3, no, I would never call it there. You got to start jockeying. And again, I think that's an incorrect assessment of the board state. I think you had I do think you were the one who needed to charge there because he wasn't going to charge into you, and he's not going to outshoot you either. So, I don't know. Yeah. I think in his case, the best case was a draw. I do. So he knew that was your best case. But at that point, it does put it on you, like, if you want to do better than a draw. So I don't think he was necessarily wrong. I think he was maybe wrong that early to be like, so let's call this. But I would have made that same assessment. I would have been like, you got blinding light and all these bows. I'm not going to march into that. Yep. We've done it on the channel. It doesn't work. Yep. But I don't know that I would be like, so call it a draw. I'd be like, hey, man, if you want these points, you're going to have to come to me, and I'm going to perfectly position myself, and either you decide to or not, and you still could move up and outshoot. So, but I think being salty about it. The decision to, say, do you want to draw? I don't blame him for that. It was just very awkward afterwards. It's being grumpy about not accepting the outcome. I was a bad man for using my army. You are not a bad sport to be like, no, I don't want to call a draw. I'll play it out. That is not a bad sport at all. Yeah. That is the default, unless both players are like in agreement, like, yes, that is where this game is going to head, and I am okay to save my back from bending over, save the brain matter to just call it there. I think you should not be salty if you offer the draw and someone's like, no, I'm going to play this out and look for opportunities. Yep. Even if it ends up in a draw, you're looking for opportunities. But again, you had the upper hand there for sure. So he was offering something that was his best case, and you would have given up your best case for it. So you did the right thing, and being salty about it, you never know what someone's day was like or whatever. I don't know, but it is Toy Soldiers, so I don't know. It is Toy Soldiers. It's hard to justify being like upset about it, but I didn't see it or know the situation at all. So I was mean. I was really mean. I believe that. You are kind of confrontational. All right, man. We have rambled on quite a bit. Thank you all for watching this. Hope this has been fun. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, hit us up below. Like and subscribe. We're so close to 1,000. It's been so awesome. Thank you all so much. We really, really appreciate you. You can buy Baron of Dice with our code now. It's NFWG to save 5% off. I know you've heard of Baron of Dice, so I won't go into details yet. We'll talk more about that at some point. See y'all next time with the next Bat Rep. Bye. See ya.